everyone, this is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com, and welcome to episode 9, an interview with Elizabeth Harmon. This is a Book Chat Live author feature. This is one of the many live podcast interviews where I'm exclusively chatting with the talented authors that will be attending Rust City BookCon here in Michigan this August. For those of you that aren't in the loop with what Rust City is, I have a link below in the show notes, or you can go to rustcitybookcon.com. Be sure to hit that follow button on Spreaker because Wednesday nights throughout the end of July, I'll be right here chatting it up with authors, and I know you don't want to miss it. If you are listening live, feel free to chime in with any book-related questions that you may have for Elizabeth, and we'll try our best to answer. Elizabeth is the author of adult contemporary romance series Red Hot Russians, and we'll be chatting about her series, including her most recent release, Getting It Back. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for joining me. How have you been?
I'm great, Tamara. How are you?
Good. You know, we had these technical difficulties today, so I'm a little flustered, but
I know it's a little bit nerve-wracking. I mean, you love technology, except when you don't. So, but we're gonna love it right now.
Yes,
so
it's technology.
Continues to work.
Technology will be our friend today.
That's right.
We'll just keep saying
right.
it.
And I'm
maybe.
very excited because this is my very first ever podcast. So. This is a lot of fun to be able to chat with you and to chat with any readers that want to ask me questions about Red Hot Russians or really anything else. I'm here and I'd love to talk.
Awesome. So, wait, first, I got to find out, was it stormy where you are earlier? Like this morning, it was like crazy and now it's sunny and hot.
No, it was stormy last night, though, and like overnight it was stormy. Right now it is hot. It's sunny, but it's very breezy, so I'll take that.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because it's nothing like no breeze and it's 88 degrees outside.
Yep. Well, I'm closing my window because my neighbor is firing up his vintage Ford Jeep, which is really kind of cool looking, but is very noisy. So I'm going to just close the window for a moment so you don't hear what sounds like a machine shop. So
awesome.
All right, we're good.
Well, thanks for that. Okay,
yeah.
So you know I always like to start with finding out what you are reading right now. So if you have something that you're checking out and you want to share with us, please do.
Oh, absolutely. I am reading actually something that I have read before, but I have not read since it was published. The book is In Search of Scandal, and it's by a good friend of mine, Suzanne Lord. It's her debut historical, and I read it when it was prior to it being published. Suzanne is one of my critique partners, so I've read it in many versions, but I decided that I would sit down and actually read the print version of it today, and so I'm doing that, and it's very fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Wow. So how, you say historical, how far back is it?
It's mid-1800s, so it's Victorian, and she jokes that she wished she picked a more attractive fashion era to write about, but it's a neat book because it deals with, the hero is an explorer who went through a very traumatic experience in China and was the only survivor, at least he thinks, of a massacre of his expedition party, and has come back to England and is trying to put his life together. And a young society miss, who is the younger sister of one of his good friends, has set her sights on him, and he doesn't quite know what to make of Charlotte. But I loved Charlotte. She's very buoyant and upbeat. She's like a very attractive, intelligent SpongeBob. So,
right.
But she's always optimistic, and she's got a great outlook on life, and I was just in the mood for that. So that's what I'm reading.
That's awesome. So now we're on the topic of books and everything. Do you think that there has been any books or maybe even authors that you would say have influenced your writing style at all?
I would say that there are some, absolutely. I tend to be more, my reading choices tend to be more story-driven than author-driven. That's not to say that there aren't authors that I love, but I tend to be drawn towards specific stories. So I kind of hop around a lot, but I will say this, that Susan Elizabeth Phillips' first Chicago Stars book was really what influenced my desire to write sports romance. I had actually started a sports romance about a baseball player. And that was late 90s, and I was hearing a lot of, oh, nobody ever writes books about athletes. You'll never sell that. And so I kind of bought into that. And then I happened to read It Had to Be You. And I read it and went, oh my God, this is what I want to write. Obviously, people are writing about athletes.
Yeah.
So it inspired me. And while it took me a few years to actually get that book written, I would say that that was really the first sports romance that I read that made me go, yes, this is it. So certainly that. And there have been historicals that I have enjoyed. Another author that I really was influenced a lot by and still love reading is Laverle Spencer. She creates very vivid settings. She's retired now, but she wrote contemporaries and historicals during her career. And really all of her settings she brought them to life so beautifully. And the way that her characters interacted with each other, which was in a very warm, respectful, compassionate way, also influenced me, because that resonated with me. I wanted to write stories like that, where the hero and heroine might not have been able to get together, but they always treated each other decently. I liked that.
That's good. So I guess we can expect to see, the kind of guys and women, I guess, that are more tame and not so wild, possibly.
I would say so. I mean, when I say tame or sweet or something like that, that implies to a lot of people that there is no sex. And that very definitely is not true. Any of my RWA chapter mates can tell you about the basting brush scene in Getting It Back.
Oh, goodness.
And, certainly the prologue in Pairing Off, the book begins with a bang, so to speak. So there is definitely sex in my stories, but there's a lot of warmth and relationship building. So I try to balance it. I think I'd say that the balance is probably more toward the relationship and toward the kindness, respect end of it, with sex as sort of the icing on the cake.
So since we're talking about sex, I've got to find out, what is the heat level of your books on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being like close to erotica, and 1 being like, let's hold hands.
Okay. I would say it's probably 5 to 6, because there's very definitely open door sex. And, we call it what it is.
Yep.
And so we don't shy away from it, but it's not what's driving the story, as in an erotic romance. And I would say that it is creative in its locations, but it's pretty conventional too. So, and it definitely, most of the time I would say it is within the context of a relationship that has been established.
Okay. Well, I'd like a little heat to my romances, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like it helps me buy into the attraction and stuff. So it's always important. And I like when it's, in the context of a relationship. That could be fun too. It doesn't always have to be all wild and crazy. So that's a good thing.
And there are authors that do a great job of that. And I feel like the way that I convey my heroes and heroines is true to my voice. And so that's the direction I've chosen to go.
Okay, I like it. So what made you name this series Red Hot Russians?
Well, because the heroes are Russian.
All right. So blonde, blue eyes, that type of thing.
Pardon?
Blonde and blue-eyed, that type of thing.
Actually, they're different. One is blonde and gray-eyed. One is dark and kind of swarthy looking. He's part gypsy. And Vladimir let's see, he's dark haired, he's got green eyes. He's just kind of he's kind of a mutt.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have a clearly identifiable ethnic background.
Okay, cool. So what made you choose to like kind of set your books in Russia?
Okay, well, that's kind of the way that this started was I wanted to write a book about figure skating. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to write a book about figure skating because I love figure skating and I love sports romance, and I wanted to read a sports romance set in the sport. Mm-hmm. But I really couldn't find any. So I set out to write a story that I wanted to read. Mm-hmm. And because I wanted to write about, because I chose to write about pair skating, and pair skating is very much a Russian thing, it just made sense for the hero to be Russian. So Anton was born. Okay. And then when that book sold to Carina Press, Carina wanted to create a series around that story, and so I had already started writing the second book in the series, which had nothing to do with figure skating, mm-hmm. but did have a minor Russian character in it. Mm-hmm. And so my editor asked if it was possible to find some sort of Russian connection, and I said, sure, I can elevate the male stripper character to the to hero. Okay. And so we did that, and I essentially started the story over to recast Vladimir as the hero, and then there would be a third book with another red hot Russian. Okay. And the series title I came up with kind of as a joke because I was trying to explain the series to a friend, and I said, they're all red hot Russians, and it just kind of stuck.
That's awesome. So, like, the way you're kind of describing these books to me, I kind of feel like, let me know if this is true or not. You don't need to read the first and second to read the third. They kind of seem not connected. Is that true?
It's true that they are standalones. Okay. But there are recurring characters that pop up in the different books. The heroes of the second two books are introduced as minor characters in the first book. Oh. I really enjoy Easter eggs. Mm-hmm. Like when I watch when I'm reading a book or I watch a TV show, and the author or the screenwriter will kind of stick in these little references to maybe other episodes that if you've read the other books, you kind of go, oh, that's what happened. That person was in this book or that book, and so that was kind of what I did here. Mm-hmm. But no, the series is not a continuation. Each story is self-contained. Each couple gets an HEA, and then we move on to the next.
Okay, so I guess that's great because you can jump in at any point and really not feel lost then.
No, it's very true. You can.
Okay, awesome. So before we jump into the details of the first book, which is Pairing Off, let's talk a little bit about your cover art, right? Because yesterday when we were talking, I was telling you that, the cover art really caught my attention. And I know you have a story about the cover art, so if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I was working with my editor on the launch of the first book and also with Carina Press's marketing department, I was able to offer input into how I wanted the covers to be. And one of the things that I really wanted was I wanted the font that was used for the cover to reflect Russia somehow. I wanted to use either a Cyrillic-looking typeface or something. Mm-hmm. And when it came back, what they did was, in my opinion, very creative. They added a few flourishes to just a few plain, everyday Western letters. But in the title Pairing Off, they flipped the R so it's backward, mm-hmm. and which looks like a letter in the Cyrillic alphabet. Not the letter R, mind you, as I've had that pointed out by a couple of people who do speak Russian.
Right.
But when I saw it, I loved it. but I wasn't quite sure. You're with your first cover, you're just never really quite, there's a lot of, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? Mm-hmm. So I showed it to a few people. I kind of I emailed it to a number of friends, and I did an informal private poll. I said, what do you think? And I got back a lot of positives, and I got back a few reserves. A couple of people wondered if maybe readers might not think that there was a typo on the cover, and that caused a moment of hesitation.
Yeah.
But even those who brought up those concerns said, at the end of the day, it's your cover. If you love it, go for it.
Right.
And I loved it, so I went for it. I told Karina that was what I wanted, and that's what they created for me. And I loved the color scheme because it very definitely does suggest Russia in the wintertime. Yeah. And I thought that the couple portraying Carrie and Anton captured them very well.
Yeah, I agree.
And I loved all the covers that they've done.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at them all when I was doing the prep blog post, and I gotta say, I'm like, wow, these covers are really nice. And, I did like the reverse of some of the letters. I mean, I didn't think it was misspelled. I thought it was by design, and it told me that it was something Russian, other than, but I don't speak Russian, so I don't know, I can't point out, that's wrong, but to me, that's what it told me.
Yeah, and I thought so too. And actually, there was another author, not long after, who had a book come out not long before this one, that had a flipped R in her title. And I went, oh, look, it's been done. So that was another thing. That was another factor that influenced me to go ahead and go for it.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad
to be selling pretty well. So I thought, hey, we'll try it.
Yeah, and plus, I'm sure the Karina Press knows what they're doing. If it was bad, I'm sure they wouldn't have let you do it. But
that was kind of what I thought too.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And I loved everything about the cover, so we just plunged in.
Awesome. So let's just start with your debut novel, which is Pairing Off. And I noted that this was described as the cutting edge with a Russian twist. And I mean, that really caught my attention because I really loved that movie. I swear, I think I've seen that movie like 6 times. And
me too.
So that grabbed me in. So why don't you just reel us in even more and tell us a little bit about this book?
Okay. Well, it very definitely is the cutting edge with a Russian twist in that it is about a pairs team training for the Olympics. Now, where we depart from the cutting edge idea is that Anton is not a hockey player who is recruited at the last minute. He is one of the top male pair skaters in the world. Mm-hmm. His partner leaves him abruptly for a better prospect on the eve of the Olympics. Carrie, the heroine, has been through a really embarrassing episode that involved her ex-partner in bed with a U.S. skating judge at the World Championships.
Oops.
That resulted in them being stripped of their championship. And while Carrie was not banned from competition, as her partner was, she's more or less been tainted by association, and no one really wants to pair with her. Anton does. We find out his real reasons why he wants to, but he does because he needs a partner pronto, and he wants an experienced partner, not somebody who's going to be skating in her first Olympic season. So Carrie has never skated. Carrie has never competed in the Olympics, but she is certainly a seasoned competitor. And so he feels comfortable, or should I say his coach feels comfortable, in reaching out to her and recruiting her to come to Russia to partner with him to train for the upcoming Olympics. Okay,
I like it. That definitely does sound interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Carrie and Anton as characters, right? So we know obviously they, are the hero and heroine, and obviously they end up together somehow, some way.
Yes.
Would you say, I always have to ask this, that were they kind of like insta-lust going on there, or more like, oh, I hate you, maybe I'll like you later type situation?
No. Initially things are tense. Anton is attracted to Carrie, but Anton is in another relationship.
Oh.
And Anton isn't going to cheat on his girlfriend. And Carrie knows that the reason, well, without giving too much away, Anton and Carrie had a history of a one-night stand years before, which Carrie, well, they both remember it. Carrie knows that it was Anton. Anton doesn't know that it was Carrie. Carrie looked different. She didn't give him her name. It was dark. If you read the book, you'll kind of understand how all that works. I won't go into a lot of detail about it, but that drives some of their reservations toward each other. But no, it's never hate you, I lust for you.
Yeah.
It's very much a friends to lovers story.
Uh-huh.
And it really doesn't get going, the romance part of it, until about halfway through the book, once Anton ends his relationship with his girlfriend.
I can respect
Olga,
that.
who was his ex-partner, the one who dumped him. So,
okay. Well, I like Anton already because I can respect that. He's not a cheater.
He's a great guy. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
He really is.
Okay, so what do you think you like the most about the characters you developed for this book?
What do I like most about that's a really interesting question. Carrie has a very difficult past, and she's balancing her past trauma with moving ahead and going after what she wants in life, which is a successful skating career. She's loyal to her family, and she knows what changing from skating for the U.S., she knows what it's going to mean to her politician father once she's competing as a member of the Russian Olympic team. So she's balancing that, but she also cares a lot about Anton, even before they become lovers. And she wants to give him the best chance that he can. That she can, and she feels that he deserves to compete in the Olympics, and so she is committed to making that happen. As for Anton, he is protective and concerned for Carrie, but he's not overbearing. He is kind to her when a lot of people haven't been, and he recognizes that she needs to feel like she's an equal partner in the relationship. I mean, in the skating partnership.
Right.
He is, as far as the skating world, he's much higher ranked. He's a world silver medalist. She is a disgraced one-time U.S. medalist. There's kind of a big gap between him and her. Yeah. But he never treats her that way. And,
you know, Anton, to me, just listening to what you're saying, he doesn't kind of seem like an alpha male. Is he more like a beta guy? Not that it makes him any less manly, but he definitely seems kind of sensitive. Would you think that's accurate?
Very definitely.
Yeah.
And I would say that is true of my heroes. I do not write the typical alpha.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's different, and I like it. If you're, unsure, well, this would be a good opportunity for the listeners or readers to try out a romance with a non-alpha male who is still manly and see how you like it. You know what I mean? Because many of them are alpha males,
Alpha males are very in vogue, right? I mean, alpha males are always in vogue, but I think there's just kind of right now, it seems like every romance has an alpha male lead. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I like betas, so that's what I'm writing.
All right, you go. So this book has also been nominated for a Rita Award, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, I was absolutely thrilled. Pairing Off is up for a Rita Award as Best First Book. And when I found out in March, I was on vacation with my family on Read a Call morning, and I wasn't even letting myself think about, oh gosh, they're calling people. And I got out of the shower, and I happened to glance at my phone, and I saw that I had a missed call from an area code I didn't recognize. And I went, huh. I thought, okay, calm your nerves, just see what the voicemail is. And so I called back the voicemail, and it was from RWA, I believe a board member, Dee Davis, whose name I certainly recognized, calling with some exciting news. And my hands were shaking so much I couldn't call the number back. My 17-year-old son actually had to do it for me. But once I got on the phone, she told me, and I was over the moon. It was just such a thrill. It was so exciting.
Awesome. Congratulations. So
thank you.
When do we find out if you've won?
Well, I will be going to San Diego in July for the RWA National Conference, and the Rita Awards are closing night, which is, I've got to look at the calendar. I believe the 17th. I'm not so great with dates, but it's the closing night of RWA. So whatever happens, I will be putting information up on my website. And I will mention this, that I have been in touch with the other 7 Best First Book finalists, and we're going to be starting a promotion on on June 20th, where we're going to be giving away, among other things, a collection of all 8 Best First Book nominees.
Awesome.
So be looking for information about that. I will be posting it on Facebook. I will be tweeting it. And I think we have a number of bloggers who are going to be helping spread the word as well. So it's a great opportunity to get kind of a little library of 8 Rita finalists. And so be looking for it. And also we have one of the things that's been kind of cool about the Ritas too is Smart Bitches Trashy Books does they do a Rita Reader Challenge every year, and one of my Rita Challenge reviews went up, and it was great. It was one of the best reviews I've had. She was really thoughtful. She put a lot of effort into it. She even referenced a couple of blog posts that I'd written about the process of writing the book. So it was wonderful. I love it. It was a great review.
All right, everyone, check out that blog post. Was it Smart? What was it? Smart Girls,
Smart Bitches, Trashy
Books. Yes, I've heard of that blog. It's a good blog. So you guys check that out, and be sure to follow Elizabeth online. All of her links are below, so you can find out how she did with the Rita Award. So let's just step into book 2 while we're talking about the series, which is Turning It On.
Yeah.
The main characters in this book are Hannah and Vlad, I believe. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you deviated from competition skating in this one. So how is this one a little bit different, but still Red Hot Russians?
Okay. Well, as I said, I had begun writing this book when I sold Pairing Off, and because I had a minor character in the story that was Russian, and though he wasn't a skater at the time, he was Russian, so it was a way to create continuity between the stories. This story is set on a reality show, and I am kind of fascinated by reality TV, and so I set out to write this book. It kind of came out of a what if question. What if a shy, nerdy wallflower ended up as a contestant on a super sexy reality TV show?
Okay.
And so that's basically the premise of what happens. And Hannah is my shy, nerdy wallflower who ends up on this show because her fiance has essentially begged her to go on it with him. And I won't go into a lot of detail about the setup, but suffice to say that Vlad is one of the contestants on the show, and Hannah has been designated by the show's producers as kind of like the sappy loser. She's always shown looking really unattractive. She's always shown on the verge of tears, and Vlad has kind of been designated as the show's villain. So Hannah and Vlad, neither of whom are really the way that they are being portrayed on this show, kind of team up together. And Vlad basically offers to give Hannah sexy lessons because as a stripper, he knows how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So he helps her come out of her shell a little bit. And she is a book editor, and he is an aspiring novelist. And so while she doesn't promise to publish his book, she gives him confidence. She's really the first person to hear about his dream and not dismiss him as basically a big dumb piece of meat because he's a stripper. She
Right.
takes him seriously. She
Okay.
talks to him about it. They share a passion for books. And so they connect that way.
That's cool.
And
You know
in the
what I
process-
liked most? I gotta say what caught my attention most is the fact that they met on a reality TV show. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's like not even being funny. I have like a guilty pleasure of reality TV, so that instantly reeled me in. I think that's very unique. You don't see that, plot at all, really. So it was very creative, I think.
Thank you. One of the things that I really wanted to do was I wanted to capture behind the scenes of a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
I'd read enough about it, about reality TV, to know that reality TV works from a story plan, just like scripted TV does.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really curious about how that worked and about all of the editing and sound bites and things like that basically go on hidden from the audience to adhere to the storyline that's already been put in place, which is essentially how Hannah ends up the dumpy loser and Vlad ends up the bad guy because every show needs those characters.
Yeah. So how did you do your research for that to find out
It was tough because I reached out to a few people who had been reality TV contestants. There was a Bachelor contestant from our area, and I emailed her.
Okay.
I emailed another Bachelor contestant, not from our area, who wrote a book about her experience. And neither one of them were comfortable jumping in and being a source for this. I understand that they signed non-disclosure agreements, and so I understood that. So I wasn't really able to talk directly with past contestants. However, a past contestant from The Bachelor wrote a book, a memoir, called I Didn't Come Here to Make Friends. And so I read that, and that gave me some background about how the show works. And then I also read a manual for prospective reality TV contestants that was very revealing.
Wow.
And it talked about things like microphones. It talked about, among other things, how to have sex on camera.
Yeah.
I didn't actually use that chapter in the book, but it tells you how to do it. So I thought, okay, there you go.
Wow.
It was very revealing. And I have a friend who is a videographer, and he gave me a lot of technical information and reviewed the manuscript, the technical parts of it afterward, and said that I got it right. Also, I started just recently, the book came out last year, but just recently I started binge watching Unreal.
Me too. I love it.
Oh, isn't that okay? All right. I'm like 3 episodes into it, or 4 episodes into it. So
into season 1.
I was really happy to see that a lot of the details in turning it on I got right, because there are things that happen on, the way that they're played out, the control room, the fact that they turn the mics off so that they aren't mic'd at certain times. All of that stuff is in turning it on.
Yeah,
so
that's
it was very
awesome.
gratifying to see that I got, I got some of the big stuff right.
Oh, that's cool. Because, it's funny. I was actually going to ask you if you'd seen that show. It just came back for a second season. So it's pretty good. It's kind of, if that's really what goes on behind the scenes, that makes, it sounds really like thought out and plotted. And even the producers are kind of being sneaky to kind of get the reactions that they're looking for and things like
definitely.
that. It's crazy.
Definitely. And Hannah actually gives an interview where the assistant producer, who is kind of in charge of her, definitely manipulates the questions so that Hannah's answers lend themselves to the plot line that the producers kind of have in place already. So,
wow. Yeah. Well, that one sounds good. Yes.
Yeah. So you'll have to read that one, Tamara. Because I think that one will probably appeal to you a lot.
Okay. Well, I definitely will for sure. That is instantly added to my TBR list.
Excellent.
So the latest one that just came out, a couple months ago, right?
Yes.
Is Getting It Back. And this is, yes, we return to ice skating, but not in a couple's way, right? In a single.
No, this is, Misha is a single skater. Oh, and before we leave Turning It On, I will add this. Vlad's background, yes, he is Russian, and he is a former figure skater.
Okay.
He was an ice dancer who was injured, and in pairing off, he is the nephew of Anton and Carrie's coach.
Okay.
So there's the connection to the stories. But anyway, moving on to Getting It Back. The hero is Mikhail Zykov, Misha, who is a men's singles competitor who actually did make it to the Olympics, won a bronze medal, and had to leave the sport before he was ready due to a back injury. And the heroine is an athletic trainer who met Misha when he came to rehab after surgery to the University of Delaware, which really does have an internationally known figure skating facility. Amy, the heroine, was a college student majoring in athletic training, and so she worked with Misha as part of her clinical rotation. When her rotation was over and he was no longer her client, they began dating and fell in love, or at least she fell in love, and we find out later that he did too. But with the end of his career staring him in the face and some other issues that he was dealing with, Misha got scared and Misha bolted. And the story of Getting It Back picks up almost 2 years after that happened.
Okay.
And Misha is at a real low point in his life. He is wounded emotionally, he is in pain physically, and he reaches out from the depths of his despair to the one person that made him feel whole, and that was Amy.
Okay.
And she goes to help him, although at the time she is intending to give him a piece of her mind. But once she gets to where he is and she sees him again and she sees how his life has gone, she realizes that the key to healing her pain is to forgive him, which she does.
Okay.
And that gives him the hope to move forward with his own life. And that decision eventually takes him to Russia and on the road to a comeback. Whether Amy thinks it's a good idea or not, because his body can't take the rigors of the training that he's really, and the jumps that he has to be able to do to be competitive. So
did you have to do some research as far as like, back medical, injuries? Back injuries and things like that? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. I talked with a spinal surgeon. I talked with an athletic trainer. I talked with a chiropractor who graciously reviewed the back injury portions of the book at the last minute before I had to send it off to my editor, send final proofs off to my editor. And I also worked with a friend of mine who is a competitive skater who gave me a lot of really good information about what jumping does to your body and how you train jumps, because that's a very crucial part of the story. Now, Cindy isn't doing quadruple jumps, which is what Misha's doing, but I learned a lot about how they're trained. Right. So, yes, I did quite a bit of research that way. Also interviewed a young man who is a skater, who is a former skater at the rink where I skate, who is currently touring with Disney on Ice, and Kyle was able to give me a lot of background about training triples and I don't know if he's doing quads or not, but he helped quite a bit.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. So, okay, so I like it. So, let's just bring up one thing, because
Sure.
with all of these stories, they're also kind of different. Like the base of them are the same, but they're sort of different. And I know that you made playlists for these books.
Yes.
Yes. So I listened to quite a bit of the 3 playlists, and I've got to say there is a huge range of genres and type of music. And one particular, I think it might have been the soundtrack for the playlist for the second book, which seemed to have a lot more pop and some rap. I think that was the one. Was that the right playlist?
That was, well, there is more pop in the second 2. The playlists are driven by the characters.
Okay.
And also by the setting. Because Pairing Off takes place primarily in Russia, there's not as much current U.S. pop music in it, but I do have quite a bit of older music in it. And Anton is himself kind of an alternative music fan. So I don't have as much poppy current stuff for them, because it tends to kind of reflect, as I said, the setting. And I also have songs that reflect the themes.
Yeah.
So Turning It On, given that it is set on a present-day reality show, does have, I think the song, it's not a rap song, but I think probably the poppiest song on that soundtrack is Happy by Pharrell Williams, and it's kind of used ironically, because it's actually played in a scene where Hannah has just been essentially humiliated on camera, and it's the most, she even notes that it's an ironic music choice if there ever was one. So, and I think maybe Sexy Back is in that one too, because that's also used in the scene.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's
some of
cool.
the music is used in scenes, and some of the music reflects the theme of the book. With that particular book, the theme of the book is how what you see isn't necessarily what's real. And so the theme song, which is included on the soundtrack, is Joe Walsh's Life of Illusion. So, which you may be familiar with, which is a classic rock song.
Okay. All right. Well, I gotta say, that's a great effort that you did putting together all that music, because it's kind of astonishing. You guys out there, the links for the tracks are in the show notes. So you definitely, if you have Spotify, you should take a minute and listen to these playlists. Though they're going to get you inspired to listen to these books, I tell you.
Well, I listened to them when I was writing the books too.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you're writing and you're feeling the music and you're feeling the characters. So it all kind of just came together.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yep.
Is there anything else that you would like the readers to know about this series before we go on to the next topic?
Well, let me think. I guess I would say that these books are lighter and they're fun. While they are set in Russia and include Russian characters, they are probably more rom-com Nora Ephron style than Tom Clancy romantic suspense. And when people hear that the books are in Russia, they kind of assume that the heroes are spies or gangsters or something like that, and no, they're not. They're figure skaters. So they are Russian set books that are a little bit different. They are sports romances with a little bit different, and both of them really play into what I love most in a romance, which is something, well, aside from the obvious thing that I love in a romance. But my romances, my brand, whatever you want to call it, is romance with a dash of different. Because that's really something that I want to bring to my books, is a dash of different.
And I think you did that. Mission accomplished. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now.
Okay. Well, right now I am working on a novella, which is going to be the centerpiece of a proposal that I will be sending to my agent for a new series. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail about it just yet, but it is very definitely set in an unusual location, we'll put it that way. One of the characters, one of the heroes is Russian, but the books are, the guys are not all, it's not Red Hot Russians too. As I said before, I like Easter eggs, so I have this particular character because he is mentioned briefly in one of the books, and I thought, well, in one of the Red Hot Russians books, and I thought, well, I'll give him a story. But it's just, the novella is to introduce the series and the characters, and hopefully that is something that my agent will be pitching to publishers this fall. I'd hope to be done with the novella sooner, but things just, life gets in the way, and work gets in the way, but I am finishing it now. And the other thing I'm going to be doing is participating in Camp NaNoWriMo, which is in July. And I'll be doing pre-writing for Red Hot Russians 4. Oh. And that will focus on 2 characters that are introduced at the end of Getting It Back. So if you want to find out who they are, read Getting It Back. And I'm don't know the release date for that yet, but I'm expecting it's going to be mid to late 2017. Of course, people may be aware that the Winter Olympics are in early 2018, so the timing could not be better.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you have more than 4 books planned for this series, or?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
But who knows? Yeah. So, no, right now, book 4 could be the end, or
not. Awesome. So do you have any advice that you'd like to give to any aspiring writers out there? You know, there's always writers that are looking to get their first works published. So if you have any advice for them, now would be the time to share that.
Okay. Well, I guess the obvious one certainly is to keep writing and write. You get better at your craft the more you do it, and even if your book is not getting attention, or it's not getting your queries are not getting the responses that you want, keep on writing, because it typically takes multiple books. It certainly did for me before you sell. And also, and this advice now is probably with the advance of indie publishing, this is probably not as pertinent as it was for me when I started writing, but I will put it out there anyway. Even if what you are writing does not look like what's on the store shelves, or if you're told, oh, no one wants a book about X, as I was, oh, no one wants books about athletes, and then, oh, no one wants books about figure skaters, especially male figure skaters.
Right.
Don't listen, because your book will find an audience. And now with indie publishing, you have the option of putting it out yourself. Just make sure you get it edited very, very well before you do.
I second that. Get a good editor.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, indie publishing has opened tons of doors for people with stories that don't necessarily fit a traditional publisher's current wish list. Okay. So write that book, get it out there, because it will find an audience.
Awesome. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about Rust City. That is coming quickly.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes. So what books will you be signing at Rust City?
Well, since I am digital, I do not actually have print books to haul with me, which in some ways is great, and in some ways is like, oh. But I will have postcards, and I will have, they have purchase information, and I love talking with readers. I did a book signing just this past weekend, the Chicago Printers Row Book Literary Festival, which was so much fun, and met a couple of people who had read the books and loved it, and wanted to talk with me about figure skating.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is so cool.
That's gotta be the best.
Yeah, that was great. Talked with a couple of other people who were aspiring authors and a few other people that didn't know anything about it. But so it's a ton of fun to talk to readers, and so I think that's probably one of the things I am looking forward to most.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the panel topics. I know those went out last week. Did you choose your panels?
Yes, and I know I still have to fill in which ones I am most interested in. But I will say that I was particularly interested in the world building panels. And I think what I bring to that is when people think of world building, they tend to think of fantasy and paranormal. And while world building is certainly important in those, world building is really important in contemporary too. It's especially important in contemporary because your reader knows whether what you're writing is accurate.
Right.
And if you're taking readers behind the scenes in a place where they haven't been before, like I did with Russian figure skating or reality TV or this new kind of quirky setting that I'm writing in this novella in, you need to get your details right, and you need to research it, and you need to make that setting as real as possible. And that goes back to one of the authors that I'm so influenced by, Laurel Spencer, who I think was a master at bringing her settings to life. And she made them characters in her books. And I would say that that's true for me, too. That's something I try to do.
That's awesome. So you got to get on that panel. You better, make sure you get on that one.
I will. In fact, you're inspiring me. Once we get off, I'm going to go back and send that email off so I can make sure I do.
Yes.
It's been a busy 2 weeks. I also have... I'm also a freelancer and finished up a big project. So I'm kind of like, okay, now I can switch back to being a fiction author. So,
hey, you got to wear those two hats, right? Yes.
Yep.
Always more than one hat. Always.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on to the fun stuff. The lightning rounds. Yes, are you ready for it?
I think so. Here we go.
So just a little quick rundown to the audience. This is a 60-second, 60-question situation. Of course, we never get through all 60, but we try. And some of the questions are book-related, some are not. Most are A or B questions, and the only rule is you have to answer one or the other. You can't say neither, and you can't say both. And some are open-ended. So it's all in good fun. So no big deal, but let's just have fun with it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to start the timer so we don't go over.
Okay.
Alrighty. So let's see. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Name a book that you've read in one sitting.
In one sitting. Harry Potter.
All right. Vampires or werewolves?
Vampires, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Popcorn or chips?
Popcorn.
Where is your favorite place to read?
My front porch or my treehouse.
Okay. Outlander or Game of Thrones?
I guess Outlander.
Oh, okay.
I don't watch either one. So.
Oh, no. Insta-love or Insta-lust?
Insta-love.
Okay. Cliffhanger or realistic ending?
Realistic ending.
TV shows or movies?
TV.
TV? And
Yep.
we got time for one more. Sweet or salty?
Salty.
All right. See, yes, that was very fun.
You asked me easy ones.
I kind of did.
Yeah.
But, it's all good. One time I asked someone this one question that I thought was, really easy. And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, no, it's too hard.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So that's it for today. Do you have any last tidbits that you'd like to share before we sign off?
Oh, gosh. I've had a great time talking with you, and hope I've given the listeners a little bit of background about the Red Hot Russian series and what I've enjoyed about writing it, and hopefully what they will enjoy about reading it.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's been great.
Thank you, Tamara.
All right. So you guys, be sure to follow Elizabeth all over her social media and pick up a copy of Pairing It Off or any of her other 2 books in that series and start that series today. The links are below in the show notes. And before you go, be sure to hit that follow button because this is the only place you can listen live here on Spreaker, or subscribe and listen on iTunes or Google Play Music or even on my website, shelfaddiction.com. That's it for today, you guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy reading. Bye, guys.
Bye.